Okay, again, hello everyone. I'm Devin Jenkins. I am our Tech and Career Talk leader for BDPA. I'm a senior technical product manager at GE Healthcare, working in supply chain digital technology in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So glad to have everyone here today. BDPA is Black Data Processing Associates. The organization started in 1975 as a forum for IT professionals to connect and develop their careers, advancing from the classroom to the boardroom, but also as a way to build computer skills, technology skills among the youth in our community so that we continue to ensure we have a diverse talent pipeline in the technology sector. So that's BDPA. The Tech and Career Talks happen each month on the second and fourth Friday. There are a few exceptions to that as we get into the later parts of the year with holidays and the conference in August. But second and fourth Friday of each month, we have a speaker come in and we talk about a range of topics. The Q2 theme is cloud. So we've had Google Cloud. We've had some things around supplier diversity this year, data and analytics. We have Robert today talking about AWS. So more to come throughout the year. But we're excited to have Robert with us today. So I'll get into a brief intro of Rob, and then I'll let him take the floor and get into what he has to share with us today. But Rob Party is a software professional with 30 plus years of experience. He has held leadership positions at Digital Equipment, Microsoft, Deloitte, and AWS. Currently, Rob is a senior practice manager at Amazon Web Services and leads a team of application developers. Rob holds a Bachelor of Science in Computer Science and a Master's of Science in Management of Information Technology from Georgia Tech. He's married 30 years to his wife, Colleen, who is a graphic designer. I hope I pronounced her name correct.
Yep, you did. Thank you.
All right. He has two adult children who both work in software. He's also active in his community as a planning commissioner for the city of Alpharetta, Georgia, a mentoring chairman for 100 Black Men of North Metro Atlanta, an Alpharetta Economic Development Authority member, Greater North Fulton Chamber of Commerce member, and as well as a trustee at St. James United Methodist Church. So glad he was able to find some time for us here today. I look forward to hearing from you, Rob, and the floor is now yours.
All right. Thank you, guys, and welcome. Hey, guys, I'm really happy to be here today. Just want to talk to you real quick about AWS, the AWS Cloud, and talk to you about career opportunities at AWS. And Devin will interrupt me based on your questions anytime we need, but let's get started here. So I've got a quick, small agenda to go over some ideas about the cloud. I don't have to follow this agenda. I can kind of go anywhere I want. I've been at AWS for 6 years. As Devin mentioned, I've got a team of 40 application developers, database people, and front-end developers. My team needs to grow to 75. My team is in the field, we're consultants, but I work with other teams as well, security, infrastructure, big data, and they all have very aggressive growth plans like me. As you see, my numbers, I'm almost going to double the size of my team. Many of these other teams at AWS have goals to double as well, and I'll show you some of that as we go forward. Okay, so cloud computing. If you look at the screen, you'll see a lot of terms that are tossed around. DevOps, DR, disaster recovery, getting the experimentation, the business case, the cost reduction. These are terms and concepts that you should familiarize yourself with. These are the terms that you would use when you're maybe interviewing with AWS or any cloud company. These are the terms of our industry. And these all play a role in cloud computing. You don't have to know these deeply, but you should understand the concepts, and the concepts will help you. Like one example, you'll see I've got continuous integration and development. You'll hear people talk about CI/CD. This is what we're talking about. I'm able to build things quickly and routinely with a team of people and have that built and tested in an automated fashion and even pushed out to production if I want it, so that you're going to automate everything we can. But in your studies and in your research, just get familiar with reading some of these terms. I don't have all of them, but some of these are the ones that you want to use in your daily speech, and especially if you're going to interview. Okay, so I'm going to define cloud computing for everyone. And you see I have it on the screen of what it is. It's broken down into a couple segments. So using the internet or using the network to deliver services, you pay as you go. You don't buy things so much as you rent them. And so that allows you to take your dollars and do other things with it and your time. So if you would build a machine in the cloud, you're charged for that machine when it's running, but if you stop that machine, you don't pay any more money. A lot of my customers have an automation script that spins the machines up at 6 a.m. and at 7 p.m. spins the machines down, and they stop paying. And so they're able to save quite a bit of dollars by doing that. But the definition of cloud is the on delivery of the resources, pay as you go. And you can get all kind of great services like storage, compute power databases. And this is a good idea if you're an entrepreneur. If you're an entrepreneur and you want to provide a service to another business, you have access to 1,000 machines if you want, or 2,000 machines if you want. So you have the power of having a big company behind you. You just have to harness that power. Cloud computing is more secure. It's more scalable. If you look at my examples that I have here, Netflix, Airbnb, Credit Karma, these are companies that have leveraged the cloud very effectively. Netflix, for example, closed many of their data centers and took those dollars and put it into movie content. And so they're one of the number 1 or 2 movie content providers in the world now. Airbnb provides hoteling services. They have a really small IT department. I think they have 4 guys. They leverage the cloud very effectively to provide all their services, and everything's in the cloud. To get into cloud computing, you need a computer and you need some time. Everything is on the web if you want to learn it. So it's very easy to kind of get started with cloud computing. Many of you guys know this. I'm just going to remind you of this. When we look at the acquisition cost of buying a server, right, only 10% is software and hardware. You'll see in the bottom side, 90% of the costs are in the cooling and the maintenance and support, disaster recovery, backup, security. The cloud does all those things really, really well and really very cost efficiency or very cheap. So that's one of the advantages of the cloud is that if your company today has hundreds of machines, they would save quite a bit of money putting it in the cloud, and they would have total access to those machines. Right. So AWS, Amazon was the first cloud. All the other clouds, the Microsoft cloud, the Google cloud, have copied from Amazon's lead. Amazon kind of figured this out on their own, and they're very proud of their cloud. So Amazon is number 1 in these areas that I'm highlighting: migration, application services, databases, storage, compute, networking. Amazon is the number 1 cloud, the biggest, has the most services, in many cases has the cheapest costs. So people come to us for these services. And if you go around the linear model, like if I look at databases, for example, we have 14 different databases. We have relational databases. We have NoSQL databases. We have a ledger database. We have all these specialized databases for our customers to use. So this is why people are coming to Amazon, for the breadth and the scale. A lot of times we'll do a project with a customer in this area, will save them some money, and then they'll move to something at the top. More companies are moving for the marketplace to be able to put their services almost in a store for their partners and their customers to use. The management tools, the analytics, the big data, the Hadoop. We've got the development tools, the artificial intelligence, the mobile, the game. And I can't put all the things on this slide, but typically customers start at the bottom and do something, very much like they're doing today on premise. And then they quickly learn how to use it, and they move to doing things more at the top. When you use this, the things at the top can call the things at the bottom very seamlessly. It's almost like a plug and play. We like to call it building blocks. So you can assemble the building blocks in different ways. But Amazon is very proud of their cloud. All right. So I'm going to kind of move the presentation into a situation if you were interviewing with Amazon for a position. All right. And I've got a couple slides that I want you to take note of. And here's the first one. And I've shared these slides with Devin, by the way. When you're interviewing at a company like Amazon or a similar company, your interview is your time to talk about the things that you've done or experienced. And most modern solutions today deal with people, process, and technology, right? People, process, technology. So it would be important that if you're talking about getting a position at a cloud company, is to talk about your handle of the technology. Do you need to know all the technology? No, you need to know some of the technology. You need to talk about how you organize the team or the people. What business problem are you trying to solve, right? What experiments did you do? What mistakes did you make? Mistakes are really important. In my interview, they really focused on my mistakes and what I learned from that. All right. So it's important that you, in your talk track, talk about, what was the company's outcomes or goals? The tech team, talk about the skilled professions. Did you have developers and database people? What was the process for managing? Did you leverage DevOps? Stuff like that. All right. If you interview at Amazon, we use the STAR method. STAR stands for situational, task, action, and result. You can look this up on the internet, but I've kind of summarized it on the slide for you. The STAR method, you would set the situation is that you would set the scene and only give the pertinent details. The task is, what were you supposed to deliver? What was your value add to the project? The action is, what steps did you take to bring that value? And the result is, how did you achieve those outcomes, right? So that's the STAR method. And I'm going to give you guys an example. And this is an interview question I had. So I had an interview 6 years ago. And the last guy that I interviewed with took me to lunch, right? And so we have a set of leadership principles, and I'm going to show you those in a minute. But I just want you to have an example of how the interview should go. So customer obsession is a leadership principle. It means that we should be working on the customer's behalf to do the right thing for the customer. It does not mean that the customer is always right. So customer obsession, right? So I got asked a question, and you can get asked a question positively or negatively. I could have been asked, Rob, tell me about when you have demonstrated good customer obsession. But I was asked, tell me a time where you did not demonstrate good customer obsession. So here was my response to that question. So in 1999, I was a principal architect for Microsoft based in Atlanta, Georgia. I had a customer named Siemens Energy and Automation who was also based in Atlanta, Georgia, and they wanted to do a factory floor project. So the factory floor project had machines on the factory floor, conveyor belts, robots, things of that nature that had data, and we had to do some reporting, and we had to give the machines instruction of how to continue to process, right? Some of the human beings were in the factory floor, and some of the people were remote. So I organized a project where I wrote some web services. I organized the project into 3 phases, phases 1, 2, and 3. So got the requirements, did a prototype, it all looked good. We did the project. So phase 1 and 2 went great. When I got to phase 3, my manager at Microsoft had worked at Siemens in this group. And he had helped me with some of my ideas, and they proved to be very good. But when it got to phase 3, he gave me some ideas I hadn't heard before. I used those, and phase 3 failed. It failed. It missed the customer's goals. The customer and I had built up a lot of trust and like for each other. I'd earned their trust. They said, hey, Rob, can we redo phase 3? And we did, and we were successful. What I learned from this experience was that I won't do anything unless I hear it out of the customer's mouth directly. So if you tell me something about a customer, I've got to validate it with the customer. I just can't take hearsay and use it in a professional setting. Okay. So in my example, I gave you my situation. I gave you my task. I gave you the results that we were successful, but I also told you what I did wrong, what I did right, and what I learned. And then from that situation, that answer, your interview is probably gonna have a bunch of follow-up questions, right? But what is important about my response was, notice I gave details. I gave my role, my company, who was my customer, what year was it, what were we trying to do, right? They're gonna wanna know these types of details, right? Amazon is very proud of their cloud. If you look at the Gartner group Magic Quadrant, Amazon is at the top and is always at the top, where they are both a leader and a visionary. So they are the top, and you'll see the other companies behind them. The Amazon cloud, as I mentioned before, is the largest cloud. You'll see the map. They've got 25 launch regions that are active and working, 85 availability zones. They're adding some additional regions coming up in 2020 and 2021, and they're adding more. So they give you better performance, security, global footprint, scalable, all that stuff. So like I said, Amazon's real proud of that. If you were interviewing with Amazon, it would be important for you to kind of get some of these facts. And they're all over the web, by the way. But to be able to talk about some of these facts would be to your benefit. I want to show you something about the cost. So online, you can go to AWS Simple Monthly Calculator. It's just a way to estimate what your cost could be. And you can save this pricing schedule of your specific needs, right? And you can share that with other people. There's a link, you can do that. But in this case, I am buying 4 machines. You'll see at the top, I'm buying 4 machines. And I think the top, my top 2 machines in the first box are Linux and my bottom 2 are Windows. And if I buy them on demand, that means I buy them and they spin up when I need them, I'm gonna spend a certain set of dollars. But if I just change how I buy them, if you look at the red box at the bottom, if I do a partial payment and then a 3-year commitment, I can cut that cost in more than half. So we have different buying options with some of our services. And these are machines. I'm buying a machine. And I can specify the size of the machine and the operating system. But I'm just trying to show you that this is very advantageous to many companies to be able to buy with different options, and they can see the cost savings. And all that stuff is public information. Okay. So we're going to talk about jobs and leadership principles. On the web, you'll see that Amazon has 14 leadership principles. If you were going to interview at Amazon, you should read about these leadership principles, understand what they really mean. You could get a certification. And if you look at this URL I have at the bottom, this is where you can search for jobs, right? I'm going to talk more about the leadership principles in a moment. But if you go to this URL, this is what I'm showing, the www.amazon.jobs/en is what I'm showing up here. And then you can put in for the jobs or the locations that you want. Location is not that important now, but with being in a post-COVID phase, I wouldn't worry about location as much. So the job posting will have a job number, and it's important for you to keep track of that job number, right? This is for an SDE, or software development engineer. That's what that stands for. And this one's based out of Seattle, Washington. Many of the jobs today could have a location, but you could live wherever you live. You could live in Atlanta, or you can live in North Carolina and still report to Seattle. So that I wouldn't let location stop me from the job. But keep track of that job number, because that's how they keep track of the jobs. You can apply for more than one job at the same time, but like I said, you want to keep track of that job number. So when I read this one at the top, you'll notice it says something like managing trillions of objects in storage, retrieving them in milliseconds, building software that deploys tens of thousands of hosts, achieving 11 nines, right? That's what it says, right? And you may say, well, how am I going to do that? Well, if you look at our services, I'm going to go to the next screen. So this is the job where it says achieving 11 nines of durability. If you go to one of our services called S3, stands for Simple Storage Service. S3 does the 11 nines. So if you read the job and it's got details in it or things you are not aware of, I would start to take a look at our services. And many times, like what this job is asking you to do is to be knowledgeable of something called S3. And S3 is an Amazon service. You could Google AWS space S3 and it would pop up with this page right here. So that's what I did, Amazon S3. And the S3 service provides you the 11 nines of durability. So just knowledge of that could help you meet that qualification. Okay. Let's talk about the leadership principles. Amazon has a set of leadership principles that we use every single day in every meeting, all day long, in all our emails. These are the leadership principles. If you go to YouTube, you will see people discuss the leadership principles. The leadership principles are made as a set of guidelines, but they are in contrast with each other. So one doesn't trump any other ones, but working together as a group, they are in contrast. Now, the interesting about the leadership principles are they're mostly about your inputs. It's only one about your outputs. So deliver results is more of a, looking at what you produce. You have to deliver meaningful results for your customer. But all the other leadership principles are about how you approach a problem, like earning the trust of others or diving deep into the details, being frugal with your time or your money, owning the problem, right? Again, on the web, if you wanted to know about the leadership principles, customer obsession, leaders start with the customer and work backwards. So this is very important, making sure you're doing the right thing for the customer and explaining to the customer, why you're taking this approach and how this benefits them, right? We can talk more about this later. I'm going to move on. So at Amazon, you've got several career options, several teams you can apply for roles. I work in professional services. So this is the consulting group. My group spends 90% of their time working with customers. But there is a product team, the people that build the services. They're looking for good people. We have a managed service team. This is a team that helps build out the infrastructure and manage it for a customer. So a customer may say, I want to deploy 100 servers, but I don't want to manage it. My people are going to focus on something else. This team would come into play and they would manage those servers for the customer. We've got a solution architect team that's more of a pre-sales team, and they work with the sales team. We've got a sales team or account management team. We've got a security team. We have a team that focuses on AWS partners, the partner team, training and certification. And I couldn't list all of the teams, but all of these teams have very aggressive goals to hire people. And so when you're going back and looking on that Amazon jobs page, you'll see these teams show up. There are a lot of teams. I should mention also, Amazon's a collection of companies. So Amazon is a company and AWS is a company. And so both will have technical roles and non-technical roles. If you're a non-technical person, I would look for jobs up there. There are a bunch of non-technical jobs up there. But Amazon has roles and AWS has roles as well. When you're looking at leveraging our cloud, you can look at what other customers have done. That'll give you an idea. For example, Guardian migrated 1,200 instances in 18 months, right? And if you read about this, you'll see how they did it and how they saved money. Coca-Cola migrated 600 workloads in 14 months. News Corp, right? Saving more than $100 million. So you can Google companies that have leveraged the cloud, understand those stories and understand what's possible. We have tons of partners that you may know about or have worked for, and our partners have a rich community where we will bring them into projects or bring us into projects. Some partners are consulting partners and some are product companies where they have a product that will leverage in our solutions. And a lot of this data is on our webpage. At this point, I'm going to pause for any questions.
Okay, I have opened up, well, giving you all the option to unmute yourselves. I know we have a few questions in the chat, and then I think I saw Veronica on. I know she sent a few questions ahead of time. So let's start with Kay Wolf. If you're on and would like to ask your question, please go ahead.
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you. I am curious about crypto currency mining in the cloud. Have you observed any activity like that being supported by AWS?
We don't support it directly, but this is what we do. When you do the cryptocurrency mining, you need a lot of very big and strong machines. And if you go to our AWS page, you'll see that you can pick a machine with 30 processors, for example, or a machine that's got, high bandwidth that can help you do your mining. So we see people leveraging our larger servers to do the crypto mining, but we don't have a product for that. But a lot of people like to leverage those larger machines to do the mining itself. There's a lot of activity with the crypto currencies and some of those ideas.
So it's possible for the client to choose like a particular machine, like for instance,
Yes.
like a Antminer.
Yes. Yeah. A client can pick a different type of machine to use. And what I'll do is while we're talking, I'll bring that up so you can see it. Yeah. Let me take the next question, and then Kay, you'll see as soon as I log in, you'll see what I'm talking about.
Okay. Let's see, Greg, I see you have a question in the chat.
Absolutely. Thank you, Devin. My question would be, how has your previous professional experiences prepared you for this current role? Some of the different experiences that you had at your previous company, how they contrast to your current role, as well as what are some of the most important skills for a successful career at AWS or just cloud technology in general?
Right. A great question. All right. So my previous experiences, challenged me to get work done under these constraints, right? So I'm in my 50s. I started a long time ago. So when I started, the choices of how to do something were limited. For example, I remember trying to process 1,000 records, right? And at that time, people leveraged COBOL. And so we use these gigantic arrays. And today, I would not use COBOL and I would not use an array. I would probably use something like a linked list or something that would be better. So I learned how to do it. And I thought about ways that I could do it better. But the people I was working with, and at that time, it was, do it the way it's done before. Today, in today's world, I've got a set of 40 guys, and I look forward to them coming with new ways to tackle and handle something. And it may be things I haven't thought of. And I am always impressed, and I encourage them to come up with better ideas that could lead us into better results. The other thing to answer your question is, in college and in my early days, I had a lot of team projects, and that is very valuable to recognize your strengths and the strengths of your team, so that when you work on something as a team, you can be the person helping identify who should do what and when, and kind of being the glue to keep people connected. If you don't do that, we all know that people just won't, they won't do as well. And so you need someone who really can bring the team together, even in a crisis, right? That's especially important in a crisis, to make sure that no one is yelling or denigrating another individual.
Excellent answer, Robert. I appreciate that. I forgot to say thank you to BDPA for this platform, as well as thank you to Devin for hosting the platform. And thank you, Robert, for your time today. I do have one more question, if you don't mind.
Sure.
The question was, in what cases, maybe you have customers where cloud isn't the best solution for them, and what are those cases?
So I have seen very few cases where cloud isn't the solution for them. So I have customers who leverage all of the cloud or parts of the cloud. For example, let's say that you've got some sensitive data that you need to store, which the cloud has the best security. Or let's say you want to do a backup, right? The cloud is the best and cheapest and most convenient backup facility. No special tapes or anything like that. And you can secure these things so that you can identify who or what roles in your company can get access to the data. So I haven't seen much. Cloud computing takes a lot of what we've done for the last 40, 50 years and brings a new capability to it. So it's just not a replacement, but actually is an up level of things that I can do. So I've seen very few people not be able to leverage some parts of the cloud.
Thank you very much.
Thanks,
All
Greg.
right. And before we go to the next question, let me just go back. I would talk to Kay, and Kay, I want you to, hopefully you can see my screen. These
Indeed.
are the instances types I was telling you about. So if I was building a machine today, and I just went to our console, and in our console, let me go back to the very front of it so you can see the whole thing. I logged into the console, and in the console, you'll see all these services, and we can't fit them all on the page, right? But the one you were talking about machines, our machine is called EC2. It's an acronym, Elastic Compute Cloud. And what I can do, I can show you what I have running in my system. But let's say I wanted to build a new one. I can launch an instance. And when I get ready to launch an instance, it's going to give me a menu of all of the instance types that are available to me. So that's what I want to do. Okay, so you'll see I've got small instances up here. These are my smaller instances, and I'm gonna scroll down and I can get an instance that's got many more processors in it, right? I can do Windows machines. I can do Windows with SQL Server. I can do Linux machines. I can do Red Hat machines, Ubuntu machines, Linux machines. I'm gonna scroll down a little bit and let's look at this one. So you'll see in these machines, I can pick a machine like a C5 extra large, and it's got 16, I think that's processors, or virtual CPUs, and it's got like this one's got 64. It's got 128 gigabit of memory, and so it's important that you pick the right machine for what you want. Each machine has a cost. This machine right here, this T2 Micro is eligible for the free. So you won't be charged for this one if you play with that one. But the other machines, as you scroll up for different settings, you'll pay a cost, but the cost will be cheaper. In my earlier slide, I showed you some buying options. You can go to those buying options and get a cheaper price. So I wanted to make sure I answered that question for you. So we're back. I see DT Stanley. Which career teams would you suggest for a Java developer? Okay, good question. 1 second. So if you're a developer type, I'm going to show you my teams. So if you're a developer type and you know Java, C++, Golang, Python, there are a couple teams that you can work for. You can work for this product team where you build a product. They're going to want you to be very astute at building software. You can also work for this professional services team. This is the organization I'm part of, and we build software using Java and Python and Node for our customers. Solution architect team is also a good team. And when you go up on our website, the website I showed you earlier, go ahead and look for development roles. Yeah, this site. You would go here and look for, roles for application development or design. And that would give you a list of companies, groups inside the company that are looking for people with that skill set. All right, Michael Ivy asked me training to be a cloud engineer. Okay, so if you want training to be a cloud engineer, there are all types of training up on the web today. Like if you go to the Amazon pages, they literally take you through every stage of becoming a cloud engineer. So you can become a developer, infrastructure person, or security person, but you can go. Now we have partners that also provide classes. Like if you went to a company called acloudguru.com or linuxacademy.com, I think acloudguru bought Linux Academy. They've got classes to teach you all the things about the cloud, and it's hands-on, is over the internet, and they have the certification tests classes as well. So let's say you want to get certified. If you go to A Cloud Guru, and you will see a ton of opportunities to learn the cloud. So this is the site I'm talking about. Yeah, if you go to the site, A Cloud Guru, and then there are other sites. There's Udemy as well, right? And if you go into this, if I would log in, you'll see all these classes up here for AWS, but also Google and also Azure. You just log into this, and this is for a fee, of course, but Udemy has classes as well. There are other sites, but if you go to the Amazon site and search for certification, there's a whole list of things that you can do at no cost. Okay. Sandra Carter said, what capabilities and services does Amazon have to prevent or minimize cyber threats? Oh, okay, that's a great question. So Sandra and team, Amazon is by far the best security provider in the cloud, by far. So we've got several components or layers of our security of what you can do to identify who is trying to infiltrate or work with your cloud. So you can protect things in the cloud. I'm going to go to our console and just show you some things with security. I got to find, I don't go to the console very often. We normally script. Oh yeah, here we go. Here we go. So let me make this a little bigger for you. So if you see where my cursor is, all these items here are for security and identity, right? And if you go to our pages and search for AWS security, we give a pretty extensive list of things you shouldn't do with your security. Things you should do and things you should not do, right? For example, I can have my web machines open to the internet so they can take HTTP traffic, but all my other machines not open to the internet. And I can have my other machines only accept requests from those specified machines that are part of my web solution, right? And I can have firewalls and all that, but I'm also gonna have automation to control where IP addresses are coming from. In the cloud, we can be alerted to any request, whether it's successful or unsuccessful in the cloud. So let's say that you gave me access and I got up at 2 o'clock in the morning and access the cloud. You can be notified immediately. You can have that in the log. You can know my IP address. You can know what was I trying to accomplish? Was I successful? You'll have all that information. And what we want people to do is to make sure they're taking action and monitoring those types of things. All right, I have a question from Samuel. How easy is it to move to other positions? Okay, so if you get hired on Monday, you could move to a new job on Tuesday. Not the best idea. Your reputation would follow you, but you want to bring some value before you move, but there are no restrictions on moving throughout the organization, and new teams are being spun up all the time. Um, I have a good friend at Amazon. He wrote a white paper, and that's how we normally do it. We have a writing culture. You'd write your idea. He wrote what's called a 2-pager or a 6-pager. And we've got a format for that. You'd write your idea, you get some feedback, you push it up, and they approved it. And he was given a budget. So you can create a job. You can apply for any role in the company. There's no stipulation. The company promotes people moving around, having good experiences. I've been in the same group for 6 years, so I'm probably not a good example. Middleton asked a question about certification. Certifications are really good. The company would like you to get certifications. If you get hired in the company, they will pay for certifications and the training. It shows a lot of good learn to be curious, which is a leadership principle, if you have a certification. And so I would suggest that everyone get at least one certification. It would be good. The certifications are a different level. You can start off with the cloud practitioner certification. Then you can move to the solution architect certification, or database, or security. There's a security specialty as well. Robert Tubbs asked me, does AWS accept Udemy and Plural? Yes, we do. Yeah. So if you go to Udemy or Plural and learn something, I think we would value that. Kay Wolf, where is AWS headed with cloud computing? I see precursors to the matrix. So the cloud is becoming the normal way to do any type of work today. So it is the new normal, right? So if you and I were doing a project or starting a business, we would automatically leverage the cloud for speed, efficiency, cost, security. The cloud brings so many benefits to the table. Amazon wants to extend cloud computing. You'll see us do a lot with machine learning, a lot with analytics. There's a lot of information that we're already using today. If you shop on Amazon.com, you'll often see Amazon.com recommend items that other people have bought. And so they're using some form of artificial intelligence just to tell you other people have bought this item, right? And so, I'm buying one thing, and maybe this, 90% of the people who bought this one thing also bought this thing, and they're going to present that to me. The matrix. I don't know what to say about the matrix.
If I may elucidate, I'm just looking at the current landscape, infrastructure landscape, and our nation doesn't have any one major like cybersecurity to protect our utility infrastructure, as we saw with the pipeline incident. So what I'm seeing is like an opportunity for AWS to step in and provide cloud services, which could possibly make certain systems more secure, I think.
Yes. So AWS does do work with our government, state, local, and federal government. And we also do work with special agencies in the government, right? And they have accounts, and they have active accounts where they are putting very sensitive and special documents and data in the cloud. So that's already happening. Amazon, as well as Microsoft, have bid on some very large military projects, and those have been in the news. So we are actively working, with the U.S. government and agencies, but also using a bunch of cities. I live in Atlanta, Georgia. About a year and a half ago, the city of Atlanta was hijacked and held for ransom because they were able to hack in and then shut all the computers down. And so we're seeing a lot of cities and municipalities come to the cloud just for the security purposes. There is talk that Joe Biden will create an agency to focus on security, but I have no special knowledge. I'm reading the paper just like you guys are. All right. How do Amazon promote community service? Okay, so Samuel asked me a question about community service. So we actively are involved in community service. We like our partnership with BDPA. We've got a partnership with the 100 Black Men. We've got Girls Who Code. And so they challenge each person in the company to identify some things to get involved in. Some people do things like food bank, but the company is very open about us participating and volunteering in agencies in the community. So the company is very much wanting to be a part of that. I'm looking, are there other questions?
Oh, I was also going to ask along with that, as they promote the community service, is there a way that they recognize those who are doing exceptional kinds of contributions to the community annually, or some way of highlighting the depth of how Amazon employees and staff are contributing to the wholeness of the community?
I would say yes. It's not. I would say yes. It's not as formal as other things. I think we are developing that muscle. But for example, let's say that my manager is going to promote me. We would make it very clear that I am an active participant in BDPA, or that I am an active participant in the Atlanta Food Bank. And so we would raise that up. And my promotion doc would be read by 10 senior execs who are higher than me. And so they typically see these things, but I have personally been involved with a ton of community service and been recognized for it. So I think they are very open and very supportive of us. So I wrote a white paper for us to help the HBCUs, and that's getting some good feedback. I need to make some edits to that paper, but I think that's going to be a sponsored program where we're going to have a program for the HBCUs to kind of, partner with those guys.
All right, thank you.
DT Stanley, I see some of the names and we'll have to catch up on that. Let me take that. I worked at Amazon's robotics specialist and I'm interested in cloud computing. Oh yeah, so the robots, I don't know if you guys have seen the robots in Amazon. If you go to YouTube, there is a great clip. If you just type in Amazon robots or robotics at Amazon. So the robots on the retail side actually go get the items that you purchase, if that makes sense. So the human pretty much stands still and the robot goes and retrieves the items, right? Have you guys seen that before?
I toured one of the fulfillment centers up here in Wisconsin a year or two ago, and I saw that. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go here real quick. And this is where you can go. Let me see if I can get that up. So robotics are, we've got a whole division on robotics. Here we go. So this is an Amazon robot. Let me see. Yeah, that's it.
Robot graduation, and then they will swing their tassels to the appropriate side, drive.
So I'm going to talk over this. Let me turn that volume down a little bit. So let me pause it. So the robots are digitized. So the floor is digitized, right? So they can all meet together and decide who goes first, but they pick up the whole shelf and bring it to you. So let me get to a picture of the shelf. So the yellow things in the back are the moving shelves, and you'll see the robots under them, and the robot brings it to the human. And so like this person stands here and the robot rides up on this rail, and then it spins the shelf around for her to pick things out of. So here's the human being I was talking about. Those are the robots that are going through, and it makes it very efficient. So we are into robots. We also are into satellites. If you go to if you go to our console, if you want to launch a satellite or something like that, we've got those services up there as well. So, okay. So that was Maxwell. All right, guys, any other questions? I'm reading all the ones I can find. All right, so I got a question earlier about work-life balance. And work-life balance is something that you have to own yourself. The company supports it. I'm going to put something in the chat for you to read on work-life balance. And if you could, you can click that. You can give me some comments on work-life balance. So work-life balance. So one of our leadership principles is customer obsession, which is doing the right thing for the customer long-term, not doing anything special in the short term, right? But doing the right thing. And so I think that you and I have 5 customers. We have 5 customers. I think you work for a company, your company is your customer. Your company has clients, that is your customer. Your health is a customer, your family is a customer, and your hobbies and learnings are customers. And I think you should spend time with 3 of those customers every day. Probably not the same 3, but you've got to juggle it. Like, and I've read all the books and had all the classes, work harder, work smarter, and I can't do it. What I do is I look at my calendar 3 weeks out, and I figure out what birthday parties I have to go to. I've got to go to a wedding. I've got to help my wife with this. I got to do this with my kid. Oh, by the way, my boss has got a big presentation to the VP. I've got to get some stuff done for my customer, and I try to figure out where I need to be to meet these commitments. I need to tell people when I can't meet the commitments early. Sometimes I have to stay up late at night to meet all my commitments because they come in all together, but I'm juggling these balls of work-life balance. At Amazon, for example, let's say that you've been working pretty hard and you want to take your kid to lunch, or you want to take your wife to a big breakfast. You can do that. No one's going to stop you. They're going to encourage you to do that. You got to balance it, right? Emails are going to come in forever, lots of them, and everybody's going to have an urgent need, but you need to keep your health good. If you lose your health, you're not getting anybody. Not at Amazon, but at another company. I had a guy work for me. He worked so much that he got twisted with his wife and, had to see a counselor, but they were looking at a divorce. They luckily didn't have to do a divorce. But, what he learned was at some point you got to tell him, no, I need to spend time with my wife. All right, I got another question. Is there some vehicle that I can advise how to transform a project that I developed to the cloud? Okay, so Michael is asking for a vehicle to get advice. Michael, this is something that maybe we can talk about offline about, getting some advice on how to transform a project to the cloud. I'd be willing, maybe you, myself, and Devin can get together and chat about this, and then, I don't know, do a presentation on it. But in your local city, there is an office, and depending on the size of your project or the size of your company, there are people, there are evangelists at Amazon, there are solution architects at Amazon, but I'd be willing, if you get a hold of Devin, maybe we can chat about it. Willie asked me what I like most about Amazon, what I like least about Amazon. Okay, what I like most about Amazon is that it is a crazy fun tornado every day. It's new stuff happening every day. Every day, you will not be bored with the cloud and how fast things move. An idea can start on Monday and be a full range program by Thursday, and asking you to, work in that program or help solve some issues. So very exciting. What I don't like Amazon, we talked about work-life balance. It is hard to balance everything, and sometimes I have to force myself to get more balance. But that's a thing you can control. Okay, Cedric, I am capturing your information right now. Hold on one second. Okay, Cedric, I've captured your information and we will chat. You're at Alabama State. And so, yeah, I'll give you a call.
All right. Thank you so much.
Yeah, we can talk about what we're trying to do.
Awesome. Thanks.
All right. Let me see. How do you address concerns of robots, automation displays? Okay. So there's a question in here about robots replacing people, right? And this is something that my personal opinion is that I don't think Amazon can answer this. So I buy products on Amazon and you buy products on Amazon. We want a good price. The robots help drive the costs down and the efficiency up so we can get a cheap price. But this problem of robots is a worldwide problem. In Japan and in China, they're leveraging robots quite a bit. Walmart, I think, is leveraging robots. So this is a big problem. You see this with the driverless cars. They've got cars now that can drive themselves, and so in the trucking industry, and then we've seen in the transportation industry. But this is the problem, and we need a holistic view of how to deal with it. Now, this problem has existed for a very long time. When you guys fly on an airplane, the pilot doesn't do much. The computer lands the plane. The pilot is there in case something goes out of the ordinary. You remember in New York, the guy's name was Scully. Some geese flew into the engine and he reacted and saved everyone. That's what the pilot is there for. But on a normal day, the computers are landing the plane and doing all the stuff. The pilot is there just in case. And so we've got trains that are mostly automated as well, with a few people there just in case things go wrong. But now the technology's gotten so good that it could displace people in jobs. And so I think the government's got to talk about how do we retrain some of these people? How do we keep them being contributors to our economy? So that's a bigger problem.
But that's one of the things I raised the question is because the concern a lot of that is employers need to be engaged in how well that they work with that transition for people who are coming into. So I raised the questions how AWS and Amazon might be helping to address the kind of transition as we all know our economy and environment is rapidly changing so quickly. It's many times faster than what the prior labor market was. So that's why I raised.
Yeah. And so is that Samuel talking?
Yes, this is Samuel. Yeah.
So one of the things they've done in the fulfillment centers, right? The place where the robots are, or the place where the products are, what they're offering is education reimbursement. They're offering, for people to, come in, do well, and look for jobs in other parts of the company. So they're trying to make sure that people have a career, right? I think they're sensitive to the idea that, people need to be developed. And so, going back to school to learn, a skill that's in demand, and, finding that, there's several roles inside the companies. And as I said, Amazon is a conglomerate of several companies, right? For example, Zappos is an Amazon company, right? IMDb, the movie database, is a company. You've got Amazon Studios. And so throughout this group of companies, there's all kind of jobs all the time. And so, they are looking for people to, gain some skills and apply for those roles. The role you could be in could be going away. Amazon has been good about keeping people. We launched a Fire phone a few years ago. It was a total disaster. They disbanded that team, but that team got picked up by many other teams. A lot of lot of the features of the phone went into Alexa. And so Alexa is now the #1 voice system. But a lot of the learnings from the phone went into Alexa, but the phone was a flop. Okay, if you apply to Amazon, I'm asking Kay's question, it would be good to have a referral. A referral could be very useful. So on my screen, I'm showing you this job ID. If you want a referral, do not apply for the job, find the job. And then you would use this referral ID to send to the person that's referring you, and then they can refer you. But if you apply to the job and then you want a referral, the system is going to come back and say, Kay has already applied for this role. So it's not a referral, right? The system is going to keep track of that. But you can go find the jobs. You can find more than one. Let's say you find 4 of them. You can contact an AWS person and say, hey, would you refer me? And then you would give them the job numbers and your resume, and then they could refer you. Now, if you get ready to take on a job at Amazon, it would be important for you to, I'm trying to get to my slide, to go over these leadership principles and understand them. As I mentioned before, you can go to YouTube, or you can read on the web, or you can talk to an Amazon person, but you need to have these down. In your interview process, 5 people will talk to you. The 5 people are going to talk to you at one at a time, but one person has got 2 of these. So that covers 10, right? 5 people, each person gets 2 leadership principles. So that's going to be 10 principles. I gave you guys an example of me answering a question about customer obsession, right? So before I interviewed, I actually wrote that out several times on a sheet of paper. I wrote that out because I want to take out all the weasel words. I want to take out all the pauses. I want to take out all the things that weren't necessary, that didn't help the story I was trying to answer, right? So you want to write it out longhand so that you just have it. And when they ask you that question, you just start talking. So referrals are good. Amazon does have a onboarding program. So if you're hired in Amazon, your manager gives you approximately 45 to 60 days, and he has a plan for you to learn certain things about the company and about the technology. And so that's called a launch plan. And the launch plan allows you to kind of come up to speed really quickly, right? You've got to invest some time in it, I feel. There's a lot of stuff to cover. It's designed to give you a good base of the things you'll need. And so during that period of time, you may get 1 or 2 certifications. So you'll be studying for those, but you'll be meeting people in the company, and you'll be shadowing people, and you'll be learning about this process and that process. And then after that period of time, you're going to be pulled into active work engagements, right? And but you never stop learning. Let me see what else I have here. So Kay asked me, what is the recommended email management system? So Kay, you need to give me more detail of that question. Okay, maybe not. All right. Devin,
I apologize. I was trying to get back to the screen, Robert. I was on your LinkedIn. So you said you get a lot of emails during the day. I get a lot of emails too. And just from one professional to another, what is your favorite email triage, email management process or system?
All right. I can show you this for a minute. This is my email. All right. I have lots of email. So I don't read all my email. So I have 140 emails in this inbox right here, right? Most of my emails are put in folders. So I go to rules. Let's go to edit a rule. This is, so let's say that I have a management team. So if I get an email from any of these people, it's a lot of them, this is moved into this folder for me. And then I have a team of people that work for me. So I'm a bar raiser. So I get involved a lot in the interviewing. So if I get an email that contains professional services bar raiser, it's put in this one folder for me. So I created all these rules. I've got a customer, Spelman, and working with Spelman College. I'm trying to show you an example of my team. I need more rules, but I have a lot of rules. Sales team. This is the team of salespeople I work with every day, every week. And I will have a heck of a time trying to find their email. So what I do is I just put it in a folder I call sales. Here is my team. This is my team. I'm with the professional services team. So my rule is called from the ProServe team. And so all these people, if they email me, it goes into this folder. And so you'll see this folder I have right here called my team. I call it A1 team. I just do A1 so it goes to the top. But if I click into this folder, those are 8 people that work for me that I need to respond to. I've got 14 messages from my leadership. I've got some emails from a customer, 10 of those. And so I won't read this 140. I read that like maybe once a day, but I read these all the time because these are the people I work with all the time.
Thank you very much. That was very helpful.
All right. All right. All right. So the AWS cloud is pretty open. Like I said, you can go to the site and learn it. You can pick the angle. Like maybe you want to learn it from a database perspective or a security perspective. You can learn from an application development perspective. There are different ways to kind of approach it. Coming into the interviews, you don't have to know everything, but you have to show that you did invest some time. So one of our leadership principles is called invent and simplify. One is called think big, dive deep, right? Bias for action. So if you're interviewing and you can't tell me where did you show bias for action, or where did you show me invent and simplify, or where did you dive deep into something, that interview is not going to go so well, right? So a classic thing would be for me to say something like, hey, Kay, what have you learned? Tell me, name me the last 2 things you learned or that you were trying to understand. And we're just going to have a conversation. Your interview goes like this. Your interview goes like, tell me a time where you showed ownership. It's always asking you to tell us a story about when you did these things or failed to do these things.
Okay, since I'm on the spot, I'm just going to give you literally the most recent thing I learned to do. It's not work related. I learned how to change my front and rear engine splash shield on my vehicle.
Wow. Why'd you do that? Why'd you learn that?
Well, I pulled out of my driveway one day and I heard the scrubbing noise. I stopped, got out of the car, looked underneath. I saw something hanging, and it didn't look like it would continue to scrub on the road. So it looked safe enough to drive, but I didn't like it. So I researched what it was. I ordered the part and I got the tools out of my garage, lifted my car and changed it out.
Okay, you didn't have a fear that you would break something or mess it up?
I had a professional on standby And I let them know that what I was going to do. And I said, hey, if you got time to make it over here today to join me and spot me just in case, great. If not, I'll be video calling you if I have any issues that I run into.
So Kay, I got to tell you that was a great answer and response. And that's how the follow-up questions are going to go. Like, why did you do this? Did you worry about breaking something? And you're giving your feedback, and it should flow like that, right? It should just be, it's just going to be a conversation. What they're trying to do is find the personality types that would, in a situation, take action and research and, pick a path, right? A lot of times what happens, just like in your situation, Kay, we don't have, 100 days to figure this out. We gotta make a decision pretty quickly, maybe in a couple weeks or so. So let's take all the data we have and let's take an action. It's okay to be wrong, but more often than not, you're going to be right? But sure, and what you did shows a bias for action, right? So a lot of times your stories, like the story this Kay just talked about, it could fit bias for action. It could fit right a lot. It could fit invent and simplify. You can use the same stories for multiple leadership principles.
Okay. Well, thank you all for the great dialogue. We've gone 16 minutes over, but you all were into it, so I didn't stop it. I have shared Robert's LinkedIn in the chat. I will drop the link again in case anyone wants to connect with Rob and continue the conversation. So dropping that link in the chat. I also put our Tech and Career Talk page in the chat. So you want to come back here and reference this recording or any of our previous talks. I just dropped that link in the chat again. So the recording will be available on our website probably before the day ends, more than likely. And then if you want to connect with Robert on LinkedIn, I put that link in the chat as well. So feel free to reach out and connect. Thank you all for joining. Robert, any last comments before we close?
No. Thank you, Devin, for the opportunity. I look forward to joining more of your series on this. And Cedric Moore, I'm going to give you a call, and Dee Stanley, I'll send you an email.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right.
All right. Everyone have a great day and a great weekend. Stay safe. We'll catch you on the next talk.
You too. Bye-bye.